If you have the courage to hear the full nightmare, stay till the end. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to uncover more terrifying stories like this. The night it started, Chicago felt strangely hollow, as if the wind moving through the alleys of Logan Square carried whispers instead of cold air. I was sitting alone in my apartment on Milwaukee Avenue, sorting through old emails, when my phone vibrated with a soft notification. I didn't remember touching it. I hadn't even turned on the camera that day. The notification said, "One new photo saved." My breath stalled. I opened the gallery, and there it was. A picture of me. Not a selfie, not a reflection, not a screenshot. It was a picture of me sleeping, taken from the corner of my bedroom. My blanket was half covering my shoulder. My hair was slightly messy, and worst of all, the timestamp showed it had been taken 4 minutes ago. I froze where I sat, my heartbeat hammering against my ribs. My bedroom door was closed. I was in the living room. Nobody else had keys to my apartment except my landlord, but he lived 2 blocks away on Laramie Street and barely walked without his cane. I zoomed in on the picture. At first, nothing unusual, just me, asleep. But when I brightened the shadows in the left corner of the frame, something hit me like an icy punch. A shape, tall, still, standing just beyond the foot of my bed, almost blending into the darkness, but not completely. This wasn't a trick of the light. There was someone in that room. I didn't remember falling asleep. I didn't remember hearing footsteps. Nothing. Did someone drug me? Did someone break in? I rushed to the bedroom and yanked the door open. Nothing. The sheets were still slightly warm, though, as if someone had been there moments ago. The closet door was half open. I never leave it open. When I slowly moved toward it, the wooden floor creaked under my feet like a quiet warning. I gripped the edge of the closet door and pulled it wide. Empty. But the smell, that faint, metallic, cold smell, wasn't mine. I stepped back. Then my phone vibrated again. One new photo saved. My hands began shaking uncontrollably as I opened the gallery. And this time, it wasn't a photo of me. It was a photo of my living room. Taken from behind the couch. Taken from the exact place where I was standing 2 seconds ago. My blood ran cold. My throat tightened. There was no time to react because suddenly my lamp flickered and the temperature around me dropped so sharply that I could see my breath. Someone, or something, was in that apartment. And it was close. Too close. When the lamp flickered, my instinct told me not to move. Every sound in the apartment sharpened. The soft hum of the refrigerator, the distant rumble of the elevated train passing through Logan Square, and my own shallow breathing. It felt like the air itself was watching me. I turned slowly, scanning the room. Nothing. But the shadows near the hallway seemed thicker now, darker than they should be, as if they had depth, as if someone was standing in them. I whispered, "Hello." My voice sounded wrong, too thin, too fragile. No answer. I forced myself to take one step toward the hallway, then another. Each movement felt like walking deeper into a cold tunnel. Halfway down, my phone vibrated again. I didn't dare look until I reached the end of the hallway where the bathroom and bedroom doors stood slightly ajar. I lifted the phone. Another notification. One new photo saved. My mouth went dry. The picture showed the hallway. But the angle, it was taken from right behind me. And in the photo, standing inches from my back, was a tall shadowed figure. Its outline was human, but the head seemed tilted unnaturally to one side, and its arms hung too long, almost brushing the floor. I spun around. Nothing. Just an empty hallway. But the shadows seemed to ripple, as if something had just moved quickly out of sight. I felt a tremor in my legs and leaned against the wall to steady myself. What was happening? Why was this thing taking pictures? And how long had it been watching me? I stepped into the bathroom. The mirror reflected my terrified expression, pale and shaken. I splashed cold water on my face, trying to pull myself together. Then the lights went out. Pitch darkness. I couldn't see my own hands. I backed out of the bathroom slowly until my shoulder bumped into the hallway wall. The darkness felt thick, almost heavy, as though it wrapped around me like a cold cloth. There was a soft sound, a slow, dragging breath. Not mine. I lifted my phone, using the screen's glow to cut through the darkness. The dim light revealed only the narrow corridor. For a moment, silence. Then I felt it. A presence, standing directly in front of me. Before I could look up, the phone buzzed violently in my hand. One new photo saved. The glow illuminated the notification banner. I tapped it with trembling fingers. The photo opened. It showed my face. Up close. So close that only my eyes and part of my cheek were visible, as if something had pressed the camera right against me. And behind my eyes, reflected faintly in my pupils, was a tall shadow, standing exactly where I was now. I lowered the phone slowly. My breath caught, because in that moment, I felt a cold hand rest gently on the back of my neck. The cold hand on the back of my neck didn't grip or scratch. It simply rested there, motionless, like a warning. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My mind screamed at me to turn around, to run, to do anything, but my body refused to move. The hallway felt narrower. The darkness seemed to pulse, alive with something I couldn't see. My phone's dim screen was the only light, trembling in my shaking hand. Then, as if sensing my panic, the hand slowly lifted. Not removed. Lifted, as though the thing was rising, standing taller. My knees buckled, and I stumbled backward until my shoulder hit the wall. I pointed the phone toward the empty space in front of me, expecting to see nothing. But the air shimmered. Just a faint distortion, like heat rising off asphalt on a summer day along Damon Avenue. A human-shaped blur, tall and still. Then it stepped backward into the shadows and vanished. Silence swallowed the hallway. For a few seconds, I didn't move. Then adrenaline snapped me out of the paralysis, and I rushed toward the living room, the only place with a window large enough to climb out if I needed to. But before I could reach it, tap, tap, tap. The sound came from inside the wall, right beside me. I pressed my ear against the drywall. At first, nothing. Then, two slow footsteps, crunching softly, as if someone was walking on dry leaves inside the wall cavity. My breath hitched. I stepped away from the wall. The steps moved parallel to me, following me across the living room. Then they stopped, right behind me. I didn't turn. I couldn't. Instead, I lifted my phone and switched to camera mode. If this thing wanted pictures, fine. I'd see it first. With every ounce of courage I had left, I flipped the camera to selfie mode. I felt my chest tighten. Nothing appeared behind me. Just my pale face, eyes wide, lips trembling. But then the image glitched, just for half a second, as if static crawled across the screen. And in that glitch, a tall silhouette flickered into existence. I spun around. Nothing. But the temperature dropped sharply, cold enough that frost began to form along the edges of my windows. The streetlights outside flickered through the ice, casting fractured beams across the wooden floor. My phone buzzed again. Another picture. I didn't want to open it, but I had to. The image loaded slowly, pixels dragging across the screen. When it finally appeared, my stomach twisted so violently I nearly dropped the phone. It was my apartment, photographed from the ceiling, as if something was clinging up there, watching me from above. And directly beneath the camera's perspective was me, standing frozen, looking straight up, my own eyes, wide with terror, staring at something I couldn't see. I lowered the phone, heart pounding. I slowly looked toward the ceiling. At first, darkness, then the faintest outline of fingers, curling over the beam above me. The fingers curled over the ceiling beam didn't move. They were long, far too long, pale and thin like they'd never touched sunlight. For a moment, they just hung there, gripping the wood as if something was perched on top of the beam, hiding in the shadows above me. I didn't dare breathe. My phone's faint glow flickered across the ceiling, revealing the outline of a hand. Not a human hand. The angles were wrong. The joints slightly bent in places no joint should exist. My throat tightened as I stepped back slowly, never taking my eyes off the beam. The fingers retreated. Not quickly, slowly, almost teasingly. They slid back over the top of the beam, and the outline of a body shifted above me. I heard a soft scraping sound, like nails dragging gently across old wood. I backed away until my legs hit the edge of the couch. The room felt wrong, tilted, distorted, as if gravity itself was holding its breath. Then the scraping stopped. Silence. I lifted my phone higher, pointing the camera toward the beam. Nothing there. But the screen glitched again. Just a flicker. And for a fraction of a second, the camera showed a tall, featureless figure crawling along the ceiling like an insect, arms and legs bent at impossible angles. My blood went cold. I lowered the phone, terrified to see it with my real eyes. But when I looked up, the ceiling was empty. The beam was bare, and the silence was thick enough to choke on. I didn't realize I was shaking until my phone slipped slightly in my hand. I tightened my grip, trying to steady myself. My brain screamed for me to leave, run out the door, flee into the night air of Logan Square, even if it meant sprinting all the way to California Avenue barefoot. But then, tap, a soft sound, not from the wall, not from the ceiling, from behind the couch. I turned my head slowly. The darkness behind the couch felt alive, swollen, ready to spill something out. My phone buzzed in my hand. Another photo. I swallowed hard and opened it. This time it wasn't a picture of me. It wasn't even a picture of the room. It was a face. Close. Inches away from the camera. Completely black, featureless except for two faintly glowing points where eyes should be. And its mouth, if it was a mouth, was stretched open, wide and unnatural, shaped like a perfect oval of darkness. As if it was silently screaming. A rush of cold air swept past me, brushing my hair aside. My body locked up. Something moved behind the couch, a slow rise, as though something tall was standing to its full height. I didn't wait. I bolted toward the front door, fumbled with the chain lock, and yanked it open. The hallway outside my apartment was dimly lit by a single flickering bulb, casting broken shadows across the walls. But just as I stepped out, my phone buzzed again. This time the notification wasn't one new photo saved. It said, "He is coming with you." The hallway outside my apartment stretched unnaturally long, as if the building itself had shifted the moment I stepped out. The flickering bulb overhead buzzed with a faint electric hum, throwing fractured shadows across the old wallpaper. Normally, I could see the elevator from my doorway. Tonight, the corridor looked like it had doubled in length. My breath fogged in the cold air. Behind me, the apartment door drifted shut, slowly, as if pushed by an unseen hand. When the lock clicked on its own, I felt the sound ripple through my spine. My phone remained in my hand, screen glowing. "He is coming with you." I forced myself to move, taking one unsteady step down the hallway. The old floorboards creaked beneath me, each groan echoing too loudly, too sharply against the walls. I kept glancing behind me, convinced I'd see the dark figure walking right behind, matching my pace. Nothing. But the air felt heavy, as though someone very tall was walking just outside my field of vision. I reached the midpoint of the hallway and heard something, a soft shuffle, like bare feet dragging across carpet. Not from behind me. Ahead, near the elevator. I raised my phone again, turning on the flashlight. The beam cut through the dimness, illuminating peeling wallpaper, old apartment numbers, dusty floors, but something looked wrong. The hallway was shrinking, closing in. The wall seemed slightly closer than before, the ceiling lower. I blinked hard, trying to convince myself it was panic messing with my perception. Then the elevator dinged. A single, hollow chime. I froze. The doors slid open slowly, metal grinding against metal. The interior was pitch black. No light, just darkness. As though the car were an open mouth waiting to swallow anything that stepped inside. My instincts screamed to stay away. I backed up a step. Tap, tap, tap. Footsteps. Behind me. I turned around so fast I nearly dropped my phone. The hallway behind me was empty, silent, still. But the shadows near my apartment door seemed deeper, thicker, as though something very tall was standing inside them. I lifted the phone. Before I switched cameras, it buzzed again. Another photo. My hands trembled as I opened it. This one showed the hallway, taken from behind me, but farther back than I had been, like something tall had leaned against the far wall to capture the shot. In the photo, I appeared small, standing alone in the corridor. And behind me, stretched across the ceiling, clinging like a spider, was the creature, arms splayed, legs bent backward at impossible angles, its faceless head hanging downward directly above me. I jerked my head up. Nothing there. But the ceiling creaked. Slowly, a shifting weight moved overhead, the faint sound crawling toward me with deliberate patience. I pressed myself against the wall, breathing hard. The exit stairs were near the elevator. I just needed to reach them. I took 3 steps forward, and the elevator lights flickered on for the first time. Not bright, red, glowing like a pulse. Then the doors began to close, but not fast, not automatic, as if someone inside was pulling them shut with their hands. The red glow from the elevator doors cast long, distorted shadows across the hallway. My chest tightened. The metallic scent of old Chicago apartments filled the air, mixed with a colder, sharper undertone I couldn't place. Something wasn't natural here. I inched closer. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to escape into the stairwell at the end of the hall, but my body froze. That glow, it felt alive, almost hungry. The elevator doors pulsed slightly, like the heartbeat of something inside. I lifted my phone. The screen's glow barely cut through the hallway's oppressive darkness. I was trembling, but curiosity, maybe survival instinct, forced me forward. Then I heard it, a soft rasping sound, like someone dragging fingernails along metal. It came from inside the elevator. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my shaking hands. My thumb hovered over the door button. I knew I shouldn't, but I had to see. I pressed it. Nothing happened. Then, slowly, the doors began sliding open, squealing like rusted hinges under immense pressure. The red glow was stronger now, spilling into the hallway, pooling on the cracked linoleum floor. And then I saw them. Two small, faintly glowing red eyes hovering in the darkness inside. Not human. Not any creature I had ever seen. The shape was tall, but its body twisted unnaturally, as if every limb were folded and bent against the laws of anatomy. Its head tilted unnaturally to one side, just like the figure in my apartment. I froze. My phone buzzed violently in my hand. Another photo. I opened it, my breath catching. The image was taken from inside the elevator. It showed me exactly where I was standing, frozen in terror, phone trembling. But behind me, outside the elevator, in the hallway, was a second figure. Identical. Arms impossibly long. Head tilted. Featureless face. And it was slowly stepping toward me, moving against the angle of light, as though reality itself was bending to its presence. I dropped my phone. The glow from the screen illuminated the elevator's interior. Nothing. Just darkness. The red eyes remained, staring, watching. Then the doors started closing, slowly, deliberately. I reached out, trying to stop them, but the force pushing the doors together felt like more than steel. It was like being crushed by intent. The red glow inside the elevator flickered. Then, a voice. Not a sound. Not a whisper. A thought. Inside my head. Step inside, or we follow. I stumbled backward, heart hammering, knees shaking. My eyes darted to the stairwell, only a few feet away, but the hallway behind me now seemed longer, far longer than it had been before. Shadows stretched unnaturally, curling toward me, reaching like hands. I didn't want to move, but I had no choice. The thing, or things, were patient. They knew I'd try to escape. I swallowed hard. My mind raced. I had to decide, run down the stairs into the night, or step into the elevator, letting whatever was inside dictate the next move. I didn't know which was worse. And then the floor beneath me shivered, ever so slightly, as if warning me. The red eyes blinked. The doors were halfway closed. I had less than a second. My legs felt like lead. My mind screamed in 1,000 directions, each thought louder than the red glow pulsing from the elevator doors. The stairwell, just a few feet to my left, seemed safe at first, but the shadows crawling along the walls were moving. Not naturally. Not like shadows cast by light. These were stretching toward me, curling as if alive. The elevator doors creaked halfway closed. The red glow inside flickered, pulsing like a heartbeat, drawing me in. I took a step back. Another soft scrape came from behind the couch in my apartment, though I was 3 floors above it. I realized then, it wasn't just following me physically. It was following me through perception, through reality itself. I looked down at my phone, another notification. My hand shook so badly I nearly dropped it. Step inside, or we follow. The words burned into my mind, louder than my own heartbeat. I couldn't think rationally. Logic had abandoned me. All I knew was fear, deep, cold, unrelenting fear. I glanced at the stairwell again. Shadows twisted unnaturally across the steps, stretching down as if waiting for me. A distant clang echoed from some unknown corner of the building. Metal against metal, but it was too steady, too deliberate to be random. And then my eyes were drawn back to the elevator. The red glow, it was mesmerizing, hypnotic. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it echoing off the walls. My pulse synchronized with the pulsing light. I stepped closer, closer. My foot hovered over the threshold. The moment I crossed it, a chill ran through my body, so sharp it felt like ice through veins. The doors slid fully open. The interior was darker than darkness itself, like staring into a void. And there they were. Not one, but 3. The hallway stretched again. Not as long as before, but just long enough to remind us we weren't fully back. Lights exploded above us one by one. Pop, pop. Each burst left a pocket of darkness behind. And in every pocket, something breathed. Shallow. Fast. Hungry. We reached my apartment door. I slammed it shut behind us, locked every bolt, pushed a chair against it. Heartbeat rising. Emily staggered toward the kitchen, gripping the counter for balance. Her voice shook. Did we escape? I opened my mouth, but the lights in the apartment flickered, then stayed off. A whisper rose from the corner of the room. You left us half awake. Emily and I froze. Slowly, our eyes adjusted. Shapes began forming in the darkness. Our shadows, but not attached to our bodies. They crawled along the walls like spiders, twitching, stretching, peeling, and reattaching. One climbed the ceiling. Another stood inches from Emily's face. Her voice broke. We woke up. They didn't. A low rumble vibrated the apartment floor. Something was climbing the stairs outside our door. Slow, deliberate steps that made the wood groan. Step, step, step. Then, knock. Not human. Too heavy. Like the fist of something made of bone and shadow. Emily grabbed my hand. The knock came again. Harder. The shadows in the room turned their heads toward the door, as if greeting their master. A voice seeped through the cracks. Sleep, and let me finish what you interrupted. I shouted, we're awake. We're not going back. Silence. Then, a slow exhale through the keyhole. Cold air flooded the room. Emily whispered in terror. It followed us home. I pulled her behind me, stepping back from the door. And that's when we saw it. The door wasn't casting our shadows anymore. It was casting its. A towering shape. Bent. Breathing. Waiting. The final whisper chilled the marrow in my bones. You can close your eyes any time you choose. I only need one moment. The lights flickered once and went black. The enemy of sleep is not gone. If you enjoyed this horror story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon for more terrifying stories.